So the thing I was going to talk about with anxiety and bad psychologists, right? When I first tried to get top surgery, my therapist put me on to the psych. His name was Mikey. He was a skater, he was queer, and he had a bunch of trans friends. So I figured, what better than this, right? Um, like glimpse into my mental health. I used to be diagnosed as schizoaffective with like ADHD, anxiety, the whole mix. I was bipolar. Turns out apparently I'm borderline. When you're borderline, you can no longer be schizoaffective, as that is a mix between schizophrenic and bipolar. So since I can't be borderline and schizoaffective, they bumped me to borderline and psychotic to explain basically hallucinations when it's not like when you're not on drugs. Um, Hallucinations, delusions. Anyway, so I wish I knew animation. So anyway, animation. Anyway, so it would be so good to know animation. Anyway, so can't stop thinking about just creating a nice rainbow right there. Can someone do that for me? Because I don't know how to do that. Um, anyway, um, I so I originally went in to see this psych. His name was Mikey, and he was like, "Tell me about your mental health." So I just explained everything. He was the one who like officially diagnosed me with borderline. Which, first of all, like I'm not sure if this is the real statistic, so look it up. But like one out of every 10 queer one out of every 10 queer people is diagnosed with borderline. Like it's kind of like it's, and I'm not doubting that it's a real mental illness, cause or not mental illness, but mental disorder, because I understand why I'm diagnosed with it. I've learned more about it, and it does seem true, and I have learned what tendencies I have is something that's curable, like there is ways to work with it and lessen the symptoms, but it's something that's often misdiagnosed, which is something I learned originally. Before I understood why I was borderline, I was constantly trying to figure out why I was not. And someone one time told me that she was a psychologist as well. And a lot of people would just send her patients saying, oh, they're borderline. And it's just because, like, they were multifaceted. There was many things wrong with them, and the doctors just didn't want to deal with them. Like, often borderline is used as, like, a scapegoat. I just don't want to work with this patient, so I'm going to bump them up to something that's difficult to work with and then give them to a different psych. So, like, I'm blessed. I love my therapist. Gregoire is my best fucking friend. He's the best person in the whole wide world. But, like, I've had a bunch of bad therapists in the past, and Mikey was a bad psych. So anyway, he was the first one to diagnose me with borderline. That's when I was finding out kind of like all the sexism that exists within this psychology community. And as much as Mikey was like, I validate you as a man, I know you are a man, he was also very like, if you don't wear a binder every day, you're not really trans. Just fake, dude. That's false. Like, I gained weight. I couldn't fit into my binder. Binders are uncomfortable. They cause breathing problems. I am constantly exercising, and you're not supposed to exercise in a binder. There's many reasons I wasn't wearing one. And he was kind of like, well, if he basically said, if you have a panic attack while you have top surgery, you're going to rip your stitches. Guess who's had like 5 panic attacks since they got their top surgery, and guess whose stitches haven't ripped? They also said, so basically there's like what I call the gym bats, and it's kind of like when I'm feeling really guilty, I have this very specific, my hallucinations very much depend on what I'm experiencing. When I'm very anxious, what's already I call the spider people like intensify. When I'm really depressed, I get these shadow figures. When I'm like, and basically when I'm feeling really guilty, when I'm feeling really like, damn, I should be working out right now, I should be doing something else, and it's often I should be going to the gym, which is why we call them the gym bats. Lanvia trademark. They like, there's these bats that kind of come flying into the room, and I'm just kind of like, dude, why are you here? And they're just like, leave, go do what you gotta do. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this, but I'm also getting anxious looking at your gym bats, your dingbats. And so I was telling, like I thought that Mikey and I had this, like, kind of, like, friendshipy psychologist, like, client relationship. Like, I thought, like, I could just openly talk to them about things, because they made it seem like, hey, I'm a skater, I'm queer. You can talk to me about anything. So I was like, all right, Mikey, let me tell you about the gym bats. And then he was like, what if you're laying down in recovery, then the gym bats scare you and you sit up too fast and rip a stitch? First of all, sitting up is so hard. It is the most difficult part of this whole process. So sitting up too fast, that's not even possible. So, like, do your research, Mikey. Second, like, as a psychologist, I feel like someone who works with people who have, like, mental disorders, disabilities, whatever, like, especially, like, things that are on the psychotic spectrum, right? It's very fucked up to say, like, what if you react to your hallucination this way? And maybe that's an opinion thing, you know? Maybe it is important for some people to hear that. Maybe, like, but for me, like, they said I've got good reality checks, which is, like, sometimes, apparently, I'll see people who aren't really there. But, like, I'll have my friend who's, like, who are you talking to right now, Alex? And I'll be like, oh, like, dead ass? Oh, I straight up thought there was a person there. Thank you for letting me know. Or sometimes, right, I got these spider people, and they're always in the background of everything that's happening at all times, and they're moving really fast, so I can never tell, like, what they're doing, but I know they're looking at me. Like, I don't know what they want, but it's always, I know it's me. Their attention's on me, but I'm like, I can't trace their motion. I can't figure out what they look like. They're always just in the background. The furthest back you can see is these, like, spider people. And so I figured out a trick where one night I was in the skate park alone at night, and I was freaking out, and the spider people were kind of creeping in, and then a real human walked in. Like, there was mad shadow figures and stuff, too. Like, I was very scared and, like, hallucinating a lot. But when a real human walked in, the pattern of the spider people motion changed. And I was able to figure out, oh, they're reacting to something that's actually happening versus what's happening in my head. And then I walked around until I, like, basically walked up into a real human and was like, I gotta go. And so, that's what's called, like, kind of like reality checks when you're on, like, this spectrum of psychotic disorders. And so, like, they were saying, like, you've got good reality checks. So then it's kind of like, if I have a good handle of reality while being in this weird, like, psychotic place, because it's such a scary word for such, like, it's such a scary sounding word, but it's not really a scary word. Then, like, I don't know, it was just really, like, I don't know if the right word's ableist, but it was just really, like, minimizing and invalidating for someone to say, like, what if you get scared by your own hallucination? Like, first of all, I live in constant torment. You don't know what scares me. Cannibalism scares me, not the gym bats. And second, to say that because I hallucinate, I can't get top surgery, he basically was just trying to push me onto antipsychotics. Every meeting was just him being like, take antipsychotics. I won't clear you for top surgery until you take antipsychotics. I have been on mood stabilizers before. When I was in the psych ward, they gave me antipsychotics because I couldn't sleep. And what did they do? They made me into, like, and, like, you know, everyone's different. They work wonders for some people. My experience is that they make me into a zombie. They make me not enjoy myself. There's this one called Seroquel, and my friend was prescribed it, and whenever he would give me one, I would just shake uncontrollably out of one leg. One time, he told me it was a line of cocaine, and it was Seroquel, Michael, and I fell asleep in a party. And my leg just shook the whole time while I was sleeping, just, like, the whole time. Like, there's reasons I don't like antipsychotics. And to have a psychologist who basically, because this is also when I was, like, very new. Like, I had just come out, like, a year or two before. And the psychologist really wanted to tell me that I was, like, and, like, excuse my language, but too crazy to get top surgery, when, first of all, there are so many queer people out there with borderline or bipolar, so many, like, schizophrenic or psychotic, like, trans people out there. There's so many people, and, like, I know there's a stigma, but I'm not saying this in, like, a negative way. I'm saying this in, like, there's such a vast spectrum of people's minds and mental disabilities, mental gifts, and to say that anyone is, like, not there to be able to make their own autonomous decisions is really messed up. I don't know how this person still has their license. because, like, you know, I didn't really report them. I told my therapist, I told my doctor, and then I seen him around the office once or twice since. But, like, um yeah, so I guess sidetracking back to the video about my great doctor's visit today. The reason I'm thinking about this is just because if I had these panic attacks and I passed out, didn't rip my stitches or anything, um and the doctors also, like, when I was in the hospital, they were giving me Valium too. And when I was like the way that I just saw my doctor, I didn't even necessarily ask for it. My sister was just like, what do we do about their anxiety, you know? And in that, like, the fact that the answer was so simple that they can just, like, here's how you manage that anxiety. Like, she gave me, like, not only just a prescription for Valium, but she also gave me, like, think about it this way. When you're feeling this way, they gave me this breathing machine to play with. Like, she was like, there's, like, these are the things you can do when you're feeling anxiety, especially in relation to your surgery. Like, besides just normal anxiety, like, coping mechanisms, they gave me a lot of different options. And they're very caring. They don't want you to be anxious about this experience, and they don't want you to not get top surgery, especially Dr. Cohen. I have so much belief that this isn't about money for her. Like, this is straight up, like, when I asked her too, like, why do you do this? She was just like, dude, like, it's a collaboration with you. This is your art. Like, this is helping you become who you want to be. This isn't like when I saw Dr. Fang, he was like, oh, well, I just know how to do surgery. So when I looked up, there's another Mount Sinai doctor, which, like, she seemed great, but I would never trust Mount Sinai with my body ever again, unless, by choice, you know? And, like, when I was looking up all these videos of all these different doctors, because it's very important to research your doctor first. Some people are out there cutting up trans people. There was this doctor who described it as an art form. Like, she was like, it's the way that Dr. Cohen kind of was like, it's like collaborative to make your dream happen, to, like, help you become who you are. Like, it was kind of like that, where she was like, it's literally an art. You ask them what they want to be like, and you help sculpt these people. And I found that, like, the most beautiful thing I ever heard. That's why I found Dr. Cohen, because I, like, looked for someone who had a similar answer. I looked for someone who had a real passion for what they're doing versus, like, Dr. Fang, who is just kind of like, I'll just cut people open because I can. So I like, and just like how he exists, how there's terrible surgeons out there, there's also terrible psychologists. There's a lot of people who might try to stop you from getting a top surgery, who might try to, like, prevent you from being able to, like, get any gender confirmation surgery. And I guess the whole point of this, like, long story rant that I'm on right now is just, like, don't let them stop you. I know that's hard to say, and it seems hopeless in the moment too. Like, it really does seem like someone is gonna, like, I don't know, for me, there was many times where my doctors were like, well, you don't have clearance because you didn't do this. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, one of them one time said, because you tried to kill yourself when you were 17, you can't get top surgery now when you're 23. After years of therapy and the psych ward, like, what? You know? Like, there's, like, lots of, and some of them aren't even trying to stop you from getting top surgery. They just don't understand how what they're saying is fucked up. So take everything with a grain of salt. There will always be a psychologist who will sign off for you. There will always be a therapist who has your back. You just have to find them, and that process is a lot of work. And it's not always a lot of work. Some people get lucky. I went through so many bad psychs and doctors and therapists before I found the right team that works for me. And it sucks even that you need psych clearance to get gender confirmation surgery, you know? But I know some great people are trying to make it easier for us. And, yeah, don't let any sexist psych, especially one who, like, I don't know. I feel like because I'm AFAB, because I'm female at birth, I think that's a lot of why he was just like, you're too crazy. You're too crazy. You can't get top surgery. You're too crazy. Look at me now. Like, literally seeing a different psych. I'm in recovery. if I had still seen him, I probably would have given in and taken antipsychotics. And that's not who I am. So, yeah.